And we are back. For those of you who are just tuning in, we just played What Time Is It Now by Victon, F It by Big Bang, and Good It Up, Giddy Giddy by Aewen. So now it's time for a segment called Ask Jay. So I get a lot of questions from all of you, whether it's people who are fans of this show, Bakri, those who watch my YouTube channel, Daily Dose, those of you who find me on Twitter. I just get a bunch of questions about K-pop and different things. So I thought I should make a segment where I ask them. Now these specifically are questions I got on my blog today, dailydoseofjk.blogspot.com. That's dailydoseofjayk.blogspot.com. I have a place where you can submit questions, but after hearing this segment, if you feel as though you want to ask me a question, I think I'm going to start taking them through Twitter just because they're much easier. So if you have any questions, make sure to ask me by sending them to me via Twitter at official_RCU. That is at official_RCU. Or, if you are aware of my Blogspot submission, you can send them there too. So let's get into the first question. So the first question is by a user named Ruth, who asked, "This year has been killing me with all these comebacks, but who would have to be your faves from this year? Also, how long does it take you to decorate your background, and how do you choose what goes on there? P.S. Thank you for always showing both sides of the story and not spreading false rumors for views." So this is, you guys would probably have to know about my YouTube channel. I do a similar thing on my YouTube channel as I do here, talk about K-pop news, and I recently got a new background. It's pretty dope. It's basically like a chalkboard background, and it has the logos of different K-pop groups. So I actually did that sometime around late November, and it actually took me about 2 or 3 hours. It's not actually fully done. Like, I haven't covered the full board yet, but since not all of the board is in the frame, I kind of just filmed the parts I have done. And as for choosing, which groups I decided to put on there, I was writing some groups. I put some of my faves, and then there was a lot of space left over, so I just went to my Instagram at officialRCUJ and asked what are you guys' favorite groups, what do you want to see on here, and I just started taking requests. And if you still have some groups you want to see on there, just hit me up, because I do have a little bit of space. I don't know if it will ever be in a video, because like I said, only a certain part is actually in frame. But yeah, as for my favorite comebacks of 2016, I really did like Aewen's comeback. I was sad that they had to cut it short. Of course, Wonder Girls is one of my favorite groups. I loved Why So Lonely. I loved the concept, aesthetic, everything was great. I have to give it to my boys BTS. Wings was such a beautiful album, beautiful concept, beautiful comeback. And I can honestly say that was one of, this only happens with a few albums, but I honestly did like every single song on that album. Also really loved one of those nights by Red Velvet. Really enjoyed that. But I would say my top comeback of this year was Jay Park's Everything You Wanted. It was there was 19 songs on there, I believe, and some of them, it consisted of new songs and songs that he had previously released. There was some stuff in English, there was some stuff in Korean, but all together, it honestly was such a cohesive and great album. One of those albums where once you start playing it, you just go through the whole thing. You don't stop it. And if you're really an R&B kind of hip hop type of person, you'll really like the album too. So thank you, Ruth. Let's get to the next question. Danielle asks, "Hey, huge fan, love your videos and how you explain stuff in your opinion. Just wondering about what it's like being a black K-pop fan. I'm a black K-pop fan and don't really have anyone else who likes K-pop or K-dramas. And for some reason, black people seem to look at me crazier when I express that I like it. I just wonder how, or if you found a group of friends that understands those likes and interests. Also, how did you get into K-pop?" So being a black K-pop fan, I think one of the hardest things is I feel like whether it's from black people or just people that aren't into K-pop, I always get a crazy look because I'm not fluent in Korean. So telling somebody that you enjoy music from another country, for some reason that weirds them out. Although I found that quite funny because English language music is very popular all over the world, even in countries where English isn't the main language. So the fact that people who don't speak English language are willing and open to listening to English language music, but for some reason when it comes to English speaking people listening to something that's not in English, it's also weird. Like, I don't get that mentality. But I admit, like, when I was back in high school, I definitely got some "you're in K-pop" kind of things, but I did have a group of fans. I think I was actually the one that introduced most of my friends into K-pop. I just told them when I found it. I just started, showing them groups, and then they liked it. So I actually was able to turn most of my close friends onto K-pop. Now, when I came to college, that wasn't as the case. Like, some people have heard of it. Some people liked it maybe back a while ago, but kind of got out of it. But one of my good friends at college right now, one of my closest friends, Jazz, she's really into K-pop, so it's really nice to just wig out with her. I think the best way is, like, nowadays there's K-pop fans everywhere. So, like, just do, like, for me, somebody actually approached me about K-pop because I was wearing my BTS, I have a BTS, varsity jacket, like a Letterman's jacket, and I was just randomly wearing to school or to class because it was comfortable. And then somebody approached me and they're like, "Oh, you know BTS?" And I was like, "Yeah, I really love BTS." And we formed a conversation there, and we talk about K-pop and other stuff too every now and then. So I think doing stuff like that, look, little things like that, just wearing like maybe like your fave's jacket or maybe a bracelet or something. So like if a K-pop fan sees it, they'll be like, "Oh, this person's into K-pop," and approach you. Being a black K-pop fan specifically, I think the hardest part is probably when there are issues, especially somebody who talks about scandals and issues and just K-pop news. Every time there's an issue where an idol does something that would be culturally insensitive to black people, just that whole issue, because nobody likes their faves getting called out for being quote unquote problematic. So what happens to be is that it kind of hurts sometimes when K-pop fans, if a K-pop idol says the N-word and you're trying to call it out or bring it to attention to try to educate them, and then other K-pop fans who might not understand why it would be hurtful to black people are telling you to shut up, and if you don't like it then leave K-pop. Or when a K-pop idol does something stereotypically or negative, or like perpetuates negative stereotypes about the black community, and you're just told by other K-pop fans to shut up and be quiet and deal with it. I feel like that's the hardest part, like trying to get these people to understand, hey, this is hurtful for me, and if it was hurting whatever minority or group you identify with, then you would understand, but right now you're being very insensitive. So that's probably the hardest part, I would say. Not even making friends with people thinking I'm weird, but when issues like that come up and getting other international K-pop fans to understand why this type of stuff hurts you. And also, as for how I got into K-pop, it was like kind of like a cascade of things. I was very into anime when I was very young, just because it came on TV, and via anime I got into J-pop, and then I got into J-pop around a time where there was like a lot of K-pop artists like BoA, TVXQ, Rain debuting in Japan. So I actually was introduced to a lot of K-pop artists thinking they were J-pop artists, but then when I delved into more of their stuff, I found that, oh no, they're actually Korean and they mostly do K-pop, and that kind of opened it up to me. So like Rain was one of the first K-pop artists I got into, but I actually thought he was a J-pop artist in the beginning. But yeah, and ever since it's just kind of been like, from there, it's kind of been like, whatever. So let's get into one last question. Brian asks, "Hi Jay, I love your channel. So what other second-gen K-pop groups will disband soon? And what are your thoughts on SES's comeback?" So I'll start with SES. SES, first-gen K-pop group, came back recently with 2 tracks. I listened to Paradise, and I really love, it's kind of like oldish New Jack swingish style. First of all the ladies are beautiful. Shubata and Eugene, dang, like they're just gorgeous, and they look like freaking, like they're in their 20s, like they're so freaking gorgeous. But I really like the vibe and the style, and I like the fact that it was very bright, but it wasn't like juvenile. Like they didn't make them do anything that wasn't quote unquote age appropriate. Like they could still be women while being like bright and bubbly and things like that. But I really did enjoy it. It makes me really want to look back into their older stuff, because most of the stuff I know of SES is through second generation idols, when they would do like, you know, the flashback performances or pay ode to, you know, the first gen of K-pop, things like I'm Your Girl and Notice That I'm Here, songs like that. So I really want to go back and check them out. As for second gen to disband, I hope no more disband. I know in terms of contracts coming up, Wonder Girls' contracts coming up soon, and so is Sistar. For Wonder Girls, it's actually coming up very soon, and I know a lot of people are worried since we haven't been hearing any news of renewal that they're going to disband soon. But I'm just crossing my fingers that that doesn't happen. They can stay together. No shade to JYP, but first and foremost, I'm a fan of the Wonder Girls, so even if them staying together means leaving JYP, I'm 100% completely fine with that. Just saying. And for Sistar, I really don't know with Sistar. I really don't know. I mean, I've been seeing things that kind of maybe allude to the fact that they're not that happy at Starship, but then, you know, I heard Hyorin saying in an interview that she was really happy that Starship really let her take the reins on her most recent Paradise comeback. So I don't know. I really don't know, but I hope none, because I love my second gens. You know, the second gens were the people who I kind of grew up in K-pop with, if that makes sense. Like all the second generations were babies when I got into K-pop, so I saw them all rise to success and like peak and now disband, now that you have a lot of disbandments and undergo member changes. So I hope they could all stay together, but the third generation is really coming on strong, so you never know. So that is it for the questions. Once again, guys, if you have questions for me, you can ask me by going to my tip tank on my blog, Daily Dose of JK.blogspot.com. That's Daily Dose of JAYK at blogspot.com, or hitting me up on Twitter at official_RCU. Let's get back into the music. Here's 17 엄지척.